All right, welcome everybody to the Ghosted Podcast.
Hello.
I'm here with Jacob Anderson, and I'm James. And today we're going to be talking about good and evil. So, Jacob, you brought up this topic. What is your opinion on good and evil?
Well, I feel like it's sort of it's a difficult topic to discuss because at times you hear about things that sound like they're absolutely evil.
Yeah.
And then at other times, I feel like what people consider evil is also kind of an opinion, right?
Mm-hmm.
It depends on like the position you're in.
Yeah.
Like especially in cases of war, you look at the way people are painted during wars, but it seems that the people that lost always appear to be the evil ones because the winners always write history. Right?
That's very true. Yeah.
So where do we start?
With that, with good and evil. Well, you brought up the topic. So what necessarily made you think of this idea? What was the thing that got you started on this?
I was having a conversation with my dad this morning. I can't go into full detail because there's a lot that goes into he's very into, I call them conspiracies. He doesn't appreciate that term. He thinks the term has been weaponized. But he's very into.
Well, yeah. Whenever you think of conspiracy, you must think of some crazy guy in his basement usually, because conspiracy is it's got a bad rap now because all these actual crazy people out there.
I
think every single thing's a conspiracy.
I feel like some of the stuff he gets into is sort of like that, because I'm not saying they're not a thing, but he talks a lot about satanic pedophile rings.
Yeah.
And sometimes you just kind of have to just be okay, I'm not really going to get too much into that. I'm not educated on satanic pedophile rings.
Neither am I. So all those things like Pizzagate and stuff, I try to stay out of, only because, and I probably should learn more about it as a citizen, but
right.
It's just such a complicated thing to jump into. It's such a rabbit hole of different ideas and different people saying, no, this is right, no, this is right.
It's so hard to see what's really going on, too.
Yeah.
Because there's all this supposed, evidence. But, I don't know if...
It's too much information, not lack of. There's so much to look at.
I don't know if any of our listeners know, but there is just sort of that part of YouTube that sometimes you accidentally stumble into, where you look at the suggested videos, and it's end of the world's confirmed.
Oh, yeah.
New World Order, 2000 so-and-so.
You don't see those much anymore. And that actually brings... Well, go ahead.
Well, First, I just figured... I just talked about the years, so we should tell our viewers Happy New Year.
Yes, Happy New Year. Yes,
January 1st, 2019. It's a new year.
Yeah, hopefully we'll get this podcast uploaded today.
Oh yeah. But what were you saying?
Yeah, well, this is kind of a little bit of a different topic. Hopefully we'll get back onto good and evil. But whenever I go on YouTube now, and this was not a problem 4 years ago, when I look up kind of almost any issue, the first thing that comes up is verified news channels. Almost always.
Right.
And I was talking to my friend Jaden about this before, and he said pretty much, they were the first ones that... They get uploaded quickly, they're newer, that's why they reach to the top.
Right.
Blah, blah, blah. They have a lot of subscribers, a lot of good traffic. It doesn't seem to be that way, because I'll see at the top result, something has 12,000 views that was posted 4 days ago.
Yeah.
And you have something with, 300,000 views that's... 1 day old.
Well, I think...
And it's way farther below. They'll just have mainstream media piled up.
I think YouTube has got a thing going on where they're going to put liberal medias and stuff at the higher results so people watch that, because I think they do kind of want... I'm not gonna talk about a conspiracy here, but I do think there is sort of... they do sort of want to push their more liberal ideals,
I think that's more of a conspiracy, because the way I would take it is... Because they have Fox News and Fox Business Network up there, too.
Yeah.
And they're definitely right-leaning. But I would say that I think it's YouTube's push, and I don't know if it's unintentional or not. Well, it is intentional, I think. But I think it's their way of tying kind of mainstream media to YouTube, because they want that audience of Fox News people.
Who owns YouTube?
Google owns YouTube now. They were a private company before.
And who owns Google? Do we know?
I can't think of the person's name. I don't know.
Is Zuckerberg involved in any of this?
No, Zuckerberg's only Facebook.
See, I know that Zuckerberg tries to push that sort of liberal stuff too.
Oh, yeah.
I'm not against liberals either in any way. I mean, I think for the most part, most political beliefs have something good to say, and they probably all have some good intent. But I don't know. Everything's just become so political now. You know.
Yeah. Well, looking up just any news in general, it's all mainstream media, and these guys who are just starting a YouTube channel now and want to talk about news, I think it's just going to be 10 times harder for them to grow compared to back then. And I think for some people that may be obvious, but I think it's getting way worse than I ever thought it would, especially with the mainstream media. You know, I thought they would always be at the top of results, but it's gotten to a point where they're literally like first 2 pages of results, and it's just ridiculous. And it's just like, you don't even get to see these other people. Like, whenever I type in something now, instead of just going by relevancy, because that's how they filter it, I go by top views when I look at something.
Yeah.
Or top views in the last month. Like, I'll filter it down to that. So
Right.
then I actually get, like, these other channels. And these other channels are honestly better than these news stations, because they'll just gloss over stuff, and it's just like, the mainstream media is just not that great at their job.
I miss the days of YouTube where you could get away with swearing and doing whatever absurd, no matter how offensive it was. You could rise to the top.
Yeah.
Those were entertaining days.
Like people like iDubbbz and Filthy Frank and
Oh,
whatnot. Yeah. Well, so to be honest with you, I actually kind of understand YouTube's side, and a lot of people want to just take...
I understand what happened with the
ads.
Right. For those who don't know, there was a particular song that had was it a Pepsi ad on it?
Yeah, it was a Pepsi ad.
There was a particular racist song that had a Pepsi ad on it, and someone posted something about it. Like, they took a screenshot of this ad on the song, and they said something along the lines of like, "Oh, Pepsi supports racism."
Yes.
And then that blew up. That blew up in YouTube's face because Pepsi was like, "We're not racist. We're done."
Yeah.
I think they got fed up with YouTube. It cost YouTube.
And so did a bunch of other companies.
Right.
And I don't blame them either, to be honest.
But man, I don't know.
Because, well, listen, I understand everybody wants to earn ads and earn money, and you want your favorite YouTuber to get that. But you have to understand, as an advertiser, you do not want to be associated with someone who promotes racist stuff.
But
now, YouTube's way of doing this, obviously, is not great. And to be honest with you, I think they're trying at some level.
It's heavily criticized.
You have to essentially create these robots that are going to filter that, and people say it's the end of the world, it's the New World Order, whatever.
Right.
But no, it's not that. I don't think that's that. I think there's a very logical answer here, that advertisers want their ads on stuff that they like, something that's clean. And I think that's fair. That's how mainstream media's run. I think advertisers are fair to be able to vote with their dollars and go, you know what, we're going to pull our money out if you put on stuff that's inappropriate. And
Gosh, I don't know. I loved it. I loved it.
I know people loved it.
It gave. I don't know.
It was more free and open.
I'm kind of a sick bastard when it comes to my humor. So if I wanted to post something god awful on my YouTube channel,
you still can
make money.
You just can't make money.
Right. That's the thing. Is it was great because it had this really cool opportunity. It almost felt limitless.
Yeah.
You felt like you could have become rich off just doing something. I guess it doesn't have to be horrible, but you could talk about controversial things and you could make a living off of that. I felt like it was really innovative, and they took that and they messed it all up. But I feel like YouTube might be coming to terms with what they did was wrong, because I don't know if you noticed. I think I heard that when the YouTube Rewind 2018. You know, that was one of them.
Oh, yeah.
That's one of them. Is it the most disliked YouTube video?
Most disliked YouTube video ever.
Ever.
People literally did. So the most disliked was Baby by Justin Bieber.
Right.
And people would undislike that just so they could get dislikes away from Baby. And then bring a dislike to YouTube Rewind.
They have become, like, literally the YouTube has their own.
Oh, yeah. Well, YouTube, no doubt about it's too liberal and kind of too clean. But they have... You can't just put... Okay, I understand. If anybody knows who, like, a Filthy Frank is, or an iDubbbz, they say, obviously, inappropriate stuff in their videos.
But And
I understand as an advertiser, I don't want that stuff on there.
In
And
2013,
people should be able to decide that.
I watched H3H3 Productions video on the Rewind.
Yeah.
And he talked about how in 2013 they had another YouTuber who was pretty controversial for his time in their 2013 Rewind because he used to interview like porn stars apparently. That's pretty risky, right?
Yeah.
Like YouTube was they were being risk takers, but it was, I don't know, they were supporting people that created content, right? That's what it was about. It wasn't the content that lines up with their beliefs. But when was YouTube bought by Google? Do you know what year?
I don't know off the top of my head. I think it's... I'll look it up real quick. Go ahead and keep talking.
But I don't know. It's interesting. I don't know if YouTube getting bought has anything to do with it, but it was once quite an incredible platform, and I feel like they posted something talking about how they'll try to make YouTube Rewind in 2019 better, and I think hopefully this is something good. You know, maybe they'll come to terms with they're becoming a little extreme, and hopefully try and better the platform. You know. Yeah.
Well. Yeah, they are pretty extreme. Okay, so here's the year. I have 2006.
Really?
Yeah, I did not know. I thought it was 2013.
Okay.
For $1.6 billion.
That's something. You know what's really weird to me? Is I remember when I was younger, I always saw like liberal people as they wanted the freedom, right? Things totally switched. People thought that the conservatives were nuts and they were going to sort of restrict people's freedoms and stuff. But something happened where the liberals were no longer for freedom of speech. And I'm not saying all. This is the
argument, and I don't know too much about this, so I don't want to be too ignorant when I say this, but there is a difference between liberal and left.
Yeah.
And I've heard some stuff about. I just watched an interview the other day with Prager University. Have you ever seen those videos before?
I think I've seen some of them, yeah.
I watched a video with this Prager guy.
What state?
What?
What state is Prager in? Is it a university or is it a guy?
It's like a YouTube channel called Prager University. It's PragerU. I've seen their ads before. That's where you would usually see them. But I saw this one on the difference between the liberals and the left.
Right.
And how we don't have too many classical liberals anymore. We have more left people. Classical liberals are more freedom of speech. You can say whatever you want.
Right.
But the liberals still have a certain belief that you should be nice to everybody and do blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, and I'm all for it.
And that's great.
Kindness. I can't...
But the left is like more like, you don't get to say what your side is. You can't speak. And I think the society is becoming more left and less liberal. Like the Democratic Party, let's say, for example, is becoming more left. Less liberal.
I'm gonna say something. I'm gonna get into something. We're sort of jumping off topic, but I want to talk about this.
Okay, go ahead.
Sometimes I feel like people hate Donald Trump because they think it's cool. They hear everyone else hate Donald Trump, and they feel like they should too.
Yes.
They hear he's a racist person. He's mean. He doesn't like Mexicans. He doesn't like Muslims. And to some extent, I sort of agree with that. I can see it.
No, I can see it too. Yeah.
But I feel like people are being ignorant about it, you know? Because, like, people... Who is that one politician lady that said that she, like, wants Donald Trump assassinated or something like that?
Oh, I can't think of her name. I know who you're talking about.
It was a couple years back.
It's a Griffin Kathy Griffin.
I don't know her name, but...
I can't think of it. I probably just said a completely wrong name. Sorry, whoever that was. But
it's a total... That statement just shows a total, like... Almost, I'd say a lack of respect for life. Because, like...
Lack of respect for the president, too.
Absolutely. And, I mean, you can have your opinion about the president.
Yeah, I agree.
I absolutely...
But we do still want our president to be...
Right.
Successful.
You want to support Americans to speak out if they feel that there's an injustice in our society. You want that. But, like, at the same time, when people ask, like, how's he racist? they only go to a few things, you know. And I'm not saying he isn't. I do think he was the one thing he said about Mexicans, right?
Yeah.
Said something along the lines of they're rapists, something like that. And a lot of people, like, they'll talk to conservatives about it. They'll say like, oh, well, he was talking about like illegal immigrants. I do think that was insensitive the way he stated it, and maybe he should have been a little more considerate when he stated that sentence. But I don't know. There's just. I feel like I almost feel opposed.
I feel like he's just not good with this. He needs to tone it down like 20%,
right?
And I think he'd be really good. I think he.
Well, I think
needs to
another
tone
thing,
it down. I think he's a little too egotistical.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
And he lies. I think.
But a lot of people, a lot of people like that about him in a sense.
Oh yeah, his like confidence. And I love confidence, but I think he's gotten to a point where he's more cocky than confident.
He's most definitely like he's a television character.
Yes.
We've
really, elected somebody who's it's like a popularity race.
And honestly,
president.
I almost feel like the media, in a sense, even if they're liberal, even if they're against him, they have to sort of love him to an extent because they have someone to report on so much. Like every.
Well, he just causes drama. He's like CNN's become like a TMZ for Donald Trump.
It's
when the election was happening.
Gosh.
Literally just like all these things, like all this drama. Well, there's all these real issues going on, like people being killed in other countries.
Right. Yeah.
What have you. And, you know, some of the stuff's just so childish, I think, honestly, that's covered. That's why I hate mainstream media. It's just some of the stories that people
I can't believe
put their heads around. Like, we have a $21 trillion debt. We don't talk about that because it's complicated.
You brought up
TMZ. Drama.
You brought up TMZ. I can't believe TMZ is even a thing, honestly. Because, like, I'll be on my phone, I'll see, like, all these articles that no one gives a shit about. You know? I don't want to see what the fuck Kim Kardashian ate last night.
A lot of people care, though.
Who cares? Who really goes out? Like,
a lot of people. A lot of women. I think it's more women who would do it, but, like, if you look at Snapchat stories, it's the same thing.
I'll click on some stuff. I'll be like, oh, okay, an artist, I hear their name, I'm interested in it, I'll click on it, I'll read it.
Yeah.
And then I'll get mad at myself.
Because you're wasting your time with something stupid.
I'm like, I could be doing something right now. I could be doing something. I could be like working on my life, and instead I'm sitting here reading about whatever. Like, that's so. I almost.
We love to waste our time.
I almost
nowadays.
love that it's a thing because it helps me want to better myself. Because I just see it, I'm like, this is so garbage.
Yeah. Well, we love to waste our time. Our society's we have a very comfortable society.
Oh yeah.
Think about how many people from our generation have went to war. Or had to go to war. Like, the last draft was what, Vietnam?
Yeah,
right?
I think so.
Yeah. Every generation's pretty much had to go to war. Almost every single generation. It's been a long time since we've had an actual like war. Instead of because like Iraq and all that stuff, that was kind of a joke. Like we crushed them. There was it was not a real challenge.
What do you think the war in Vietnam was really about?
Well, the war in Vietnam was essentially so. You know, I was obviously against the war in Vietnam.
Right, even though you weren't there.
Even though I wasn't around during that time.
I think most Americans probably are.
Yes, of course. If we look back at history, well, looking back, it's easy to say we were against the war.
Right.
Because, you know, we know the outcome.
Yeah.
But even at the time, I would have been against that because of my libertarian beliefs. Right. I think, and there's a lot of things with the Gulf of Tonkin, how the war began, saying
Is that where we said that they shot one of our ships, but in reality, I think we shot at them first.
We didn't shoot at them first, but I think
that's why.
Essentially what happened is that I think we, on our radar, I don't want to get the story messed up,
right?
But we're sitting there.
Well, go from your understanding.
Yes, we're sitting there, and this is in a submarine, and they're looking at the radar, and they think they see another submarine.
Right.
Essentially, it was not that; it was something else. They shot at it, and pretty much they say that Vietnam, the Vietnamese somehow either shot at us, and they didn't actually shoot at us, or I think it went as essentially they were in a boundary that they were not supposed to cross, and they actually weren't there.
What a pissy excuse.
Yeah, if we look at, and there is a recording by Lyndon B. Johnson that came out with the person who was on the submarine. You can go online and look that up. And there is a recording pretty much of Lyndon B. Johnson saying, pretty much pushing the fact that, they attacked us. No, they did. And, we got into this terrible war.
That's interesting, though, because we think Oh, they attacked us. But, like, even if they did intentionally attack us, they shot our ship, right?
Yeah.
We could probably establish with the Vietnamese government, like, okay, whoever shot us is an asshole. You need to sort him out. We don't want war, right?
Yeah.
But instead,
we wanted war so badly.
Right. It's you can just tell there's something going on.
And when Eisenhower left office, he said, this was like when his leaving speech, our biggest fear to America is a military-industrial complex.
Oh, I bet.
And for the people who don't know what the military-industrial complex is, it's essentially these organizations that make our weapons. So, we pay money for weapons, for tanks, for all these things from these different organizations. When we go to war, they make a shit ton of money from selling arms. Selling arms
amount of money.
is probably, throughout time, they've been like the biggest industries, whoever makes the arms.
Yeah.
So we paid, obviously every single time we get into war, they make a ton of money. So they want war. And these people are lobbyists and are behind. I honestly think if you want to talk about conspiracies and Illuminati and whatnot, I think those are definitely the people who would be a part of it.
I think there are most definitely
too much money in that.
I honestly, I do think there are some secret societies, right?
Oh yeah.
I mean, we know about some.
Mm-hmm.
Even if some of our information on them isn't correct, like we know about like Skull and Bones, right?
Yeah.
The Bush family, a part of them, all sorts of other people.
Yes. We do know about the Freemasons, and well, those aren't really necessarily.
Actually, my great grandfather was a Freemason. That's really interesting.
Yeah.
And like,
it's not even because there's some Freemasons that I like know. They're not like awful people, but people say like at the top it's bad.
Yeah, they're a good. Well, not good, but they're a secret society. And do you know about Bohemian Grove? We're going off on a tangent.
Yeah, I was literally about to bring up Bohemian Grove. Where Alex Jones.
I'm down to discuss Bohemian Grove. That's something.
I want to too. Yes. Okay. For people who don't know, Bohemian Grove, essentially now the way I heard about this was, I was big into conspiracies back then.
I was too when I learned about it.
Huge into conspiracies. And I would listen to InfoWars Alex Jones almost every single day.
Yeah.
So, I was watching this video one time, and this might actually just got me into Alex Jones when I saw this video. Because I was just into conspiracies in general, and then I found Alex Jones, and I think it was through this. Essentially, he snuck into this Bohemian Grove out in, I think it's in California.
Yeah, somewhere out there.
And he goes in, and he starts recording, and apparently there's like this eagle or this big bird.
I think it's an owl.
An owl. Yeah, it is an owl. And this owl, and there's these people praying in front of it and singing these songs and whatnot. And Alex Jones just like, what the hell is going on?
Do you know what the owl is supposed to represent, from my understanding? I think the owl was supposed to be Molech, who was like I think he was a god that the Canaanites worshipped. I think it's in the Bible. Like, you could look at like the Old Testament. I think they were sacrificing children to Molech a couple thousand years ago.
Yeah.
And that, I'm not going to get into whether or not it's true or false or any of that, because I myself don't know. But there's some weird stuff with Bohemian Grove. I know they burn this giant owl in their rituals. There's a lot of like politicians and other famous people that go to Bohemian Grove. I think I saw there's like a picture of like Richard Nixon.
Yes,
at Bohemian Grove.
There's a picture of the Bushes too, and I think Reagan even.
I'm sure. I think
you can look at these all up on the internet.
There's
a ton of stuff on.
I think it's an interview. One of the presidents is being like asked about it. I think it's Nixon. He talks about something about like they're really freaking gay at Bohemian Grove. I think they have like male prostitutes or something.
I don't think he admitted to it. I think he referred.
I don't know. Whatever it was. There's some weird stuff.
Yeah.
So this all, I'm gonna try and bring it back around. This all kind of bounces back around to what we were talking about at the beginning.
Good and evil.
Good and evil. As bizarre as it sounds, with politicians and male prostitutes out in the middle of the woods burning a giant statue of an owl.
Yeah.
I think there is some weird stuff going on that we can't explain, and we may see as bad. I'm not saying it's good either, but I do think...
It's hard to determine.
I think some people believe that there is just straightforward evil, right?
Yes.
And I have a hard time believing that. Mainly because if you look at why people do things, what are their motivations, they usually are trying to do something with, at least not always. This isn't I'm not trying to make too broad of a statement, but they are trying to do something that may contribute to themselves. Sometimes they have motives that I do feel could be justifiable in a sense.
Yeah.
Not always. Most definitely not always, but I don't know. There is just...
Yeah, history is written by winners, and
Right.
people won. And, in America, we always write, this is just easy Native American stuff.
Right.
Like now because of the age of the internet, we're learning about how, and even back then we knew this, how awful we treated these other Native Americans.
I'll use an example.
And to be fair, can I get into
Go
Native American stuff real quick?
Yeah.
This whole thing where we feel so awful about taking the Native Americans' land, I don't understand. You know how many countries have taken land?
I understand.
They've taken land from each other, all those Native American tribes.
Mm-hmm.
So many people have taken land from each other. I don't understand why we put so much pressure on ourselves for being, oh, look at us, we took land from the Native Americans.
Well, I think what
It's
it was...
Yeah, so it's every country.
Was we promised them. We were like...
I
I think it was the reservation thing. I don't think we didn't treat our contracts with the Native Americans very well.
Yeah. Yes. Well, we definitely were in the wrong in a lot of ways.
Have you ever seen a picture of like the absurd amount of buffalo they've killed, like Americans when they came to the Americas?
No.
They would freaking it's insane. It's insane
sure
the amount of buffalo they killed. They would have like huge piles of just buffalo skins, and it'd get, I'd say like over like 10, 20 feet high, stacked with just like buffalo skins. They might be photoshopped, I don't know, but
yeah,
it's absurd. It's ridiculous. No wonder the Native Americans were pissed off. That was because they didn't kill an absurd amount. I have a respect for that sort of culture where what they did was they only killed for what they needed.
Yeah.
And that's sort of something America is, and I'm guilty to it too. I'm a hypocrite for saying this, but I do respect that they really didn't. They knew when enough was enough, and I feel like in our age today, enough is never enough. We are very materialistic. We always want more.
Oh yeah. Well, you see people talking about like, save the whales or save this group, and then
Right.
the animal skins and furs on themselves.
Right. Well, I do think
People in Hollywood.
People did abuse killing whales and stuff, but sometimes I don't think the people that say like save the whales really care. I don't know. I feel like they're just they feel like they're passionate about it, but they don't really give a shit. Quite honestly.
Yeah.
What was I saying about before we talked about the Native American?
Yeah, we go down rabbit holes.
I was talking about good and evil, right? And I was talking about some people do bad things with good intentions, right?
Yeah.
I was trying to think of a good example because there's a lot of stuff you could say that really it doesn't add up. It doesn't make sense. But one person that I felt like had sort of justifiable intentions, or at least honorable intentions, was this is going to be controversial. I'm not saying he's a good person by any means, but Robert E. Lee, right?
Okay.
Do you know anything about Robert E. Lee?
I know some stuff about Robert.
He was a good general in the U.S. Army, and he was actually Abraham Lincoln wanted him to fight for the Union.
Yes. Oh, I remember this.
But he didn't. He couldn't fight against the Union because the Confederacy, his home state, was a part of the Confederacy. I forget which state it was.
Yeah.
But he was not going to fight against the men of his own state. And he did end up leading the Confederacy. I don't even think he liked it. I don't think he enjoyed leading the Confederacy, but he could not fight against his own state. And
why wouldn't he just stay out?
What do you mean?
Completely.
Well, I think he was getting called to war. And I do understand that. I would much rather that. That would kind of be a little more honorable, but in my opinion. Because now he's kind of... People think he's a racist because he led the Confederates.
Well, he could have been a racist too. A lot of people in the North were still racist. Shit.
Yeah,
they just wanted him not to be slaves anymore.
People in the Union were kind of racist too.
Oh yeah.
I mean, here's what I don't understand is when people talk about the Civil War, they talk about like it was fighting for people say it wasn't for slavery, right? They say it was for the preservation of the Union.
Yeah.
Is that 100% true though? Because I feel like...
Well, no, it was for slavery in some ways, but mostly because of the preservation for the Union. There was a lot of economic and social differences besides slavery.
Well, right. From what I learned though was that essentially like the South had become so dependent on slavery, the slave trade, didn't they?
Yeah.
It became like it was almost
so
like,
reliable on it. If they would have taken slavery away, it would destroy
right.
their economy.
It was
which
almost,
it did when we.
It was almost like Ireland with the potato, when they had the potato famine. It
Yes.
destroyed Ireland for a while.
And not because all they had to eat was potatoes, it's because that was their main source of income.
Right. Well, maybe and because all they had to eat was potatoes. But.
Yeah, true. Yeah. Yeah, that was part of it, but like, yeah, it was such an economic problem.
Right.
Yeah.
So I think that's also another good example. I'm not justifying slavery by any means, but you do have to admit to some extent you can understand why these men fought for that. It seems, and what I don't
for economic reasons. People's morals back then were so different.
Right.
Now.
And I don't support slavery. I absolutely think it's inhumane. It's so absurd. But the fact that they were dependent on it, I can understand why they would have to fight for that, because the South was going to have like an economic collapse if slavery was gone, you know. They were so dependent on it. It was ridiculous.
Yeah. And they definitely were dependent on, especially with cotton and stuff like that.
Oh yeah.
They were just so heavily relied on that.
Right.
And you know, they were afraid their economy would collapse, blah blah blah. But once we came down there, we destroyed them as well.
Oh yeah.
Like, their economy did not recover for so many years.
It's interesting to see that America has survived one of the, like two things that absolutely destroy nations. We survived a revolution. We declared independence.
Oh yeah, you're right.
And
it was a short amount of time too.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, you look at France when France was having their what?
They had so many.
They had a
wars.
revolution.
They had so many revolutions, and their revolutions were technically civil wars. I mean, they had so many problems going on in France. It's just
They destroyed themselves.
Yeah, definitely.
And I think France got better. I mean, France is kind of cool, in my opinion, right now. But
at
the same time,
they chilled out.
Aren't they kind of having an epidemic?
With the yellow jacket thing.
What's that?
You didn't hear about that?
No.
You didn't hear about the recent protests? I don't know too much about it.
No.
I should probably know more about it.
I was talking more about with refugees coming in. I think they're... Isn't Europe sort of having a problem?
I forgot that was a whole problem. That was like a problem like 3 years ago, right?
Is it? I don't know if it's still...
It's probably still a problem.
I know that there is a lot of like problems with like rape going on in Europe.
Oh yeah.
With refugees.
With Sweden and Norway and all these people have been taking in the refugees. Because I took a step back, by the way, from politics.
Yeah.
For like 3 years or so, and now I'm trying to get right back into it because I just needed a break. I really filled my brain with so much information. I was so obsessed, and I took a step back. So I don't know too much about the very current stuff.
I don't even have television in my house. I don't watch TV. I'll play games and stuff, and I'll do stuff to pass the time, but I just don't watch TV. I don't ever check the news. So I hear things like almost like people used to, like you just talk by word of mouth.
Talk by word and social media. Right?
Oh
Instagram,
yeah. I'll check social media too, but usually I just do that for, I don't know, like friends and stuff. But
yeah,
jeez, it's interesting because we do talk about how things are so bad, but at the same time, I think we're probably you said it. We're living in one of the
our generation's living such a great time period. And this brings up the thing with this is a totally different topic, but school shootings, for example. Right. And look, it's definitely a problem.
Right.
And it needs to be solved. There needs to be an answer for it.
But
I hate when I turn on CNN and they make it act like... And look, I understand they're trying to make money.
Right.
But they're trying to make it act like the world's ending.
Yeah. Absolutely.
And...
Well, to some
extent... School
shootings
are bad and everything, but compared to previous generations, thousands of years ago, it was way worse. Way worse. And it's just... We don't, I think, appreciate how peaceful it is right now.
Oh, yeah.
We're taking... and I don't want to call these school shootings minor problems. But I mean,
it's the fact that we have the internet.
It's been way worse.
We have the internet now, and we can see what's going on all around the world. You looked at how things were before the internet. I mean, people got scared when they see stuff on TV, but other than that, like no one really knew what was going on.
Yeah, the only thing people knew a lot about, and this is why Vietnam ended, I think, a lot, is because back to Vietnam.
Right.
All of Vietnam was pretty much televised.
Yeah.
Like they had that stuff. They had like stations that would just play Vietnam forever and ever and ever. And then that stopped, and now it's coming back with the internet. And if we had an actual war, can you imagine how... If we had an actual war, on our homeland, Civil War, American Revolution type stuff, how gigantic of a deal that would be. How many children would die in that?
And it's hard
how many
for
innocent
me,
people?
It's hard for me to even think of having another civil war in our country because I think civil war. I think people fighting with muskets. You know, I don't think about people going in there with
10 times worse now.
Assault weapons and all sorts of other.
So
crap
many
they
innocent
do.
people would be killed. It's such a quicker speed. And I think America is not even remotely close to another civil war. We're fine. I know there's like the thing with Trump. Oh, Trump's a bad leader. People are gonna like overthrow the government. All this bullshit. Nobody's gonna go do that. We have not even seen one sign of that.
I see some of this stuff where people are going out and protesting about stuff. Like
the protests have been big, but we're not gonna have like civil war.
The riots.
Riots.
I want to talk about the riots. I think the riots are such bullshit.
In what way?
Well, I'll use an example like the Berkeley riots, right?
Okay.
What the hell are they protesting? What are they really protesting?
Are you talking about the Milo Yiannopoulos one?
Yeah, sure. I don't any of it.
Yeah,
where they go there,
thing.
they'll go there and
that's the difference between, once again, back to another topic,
right?
The liberal and the left.
They'll just go there and start beating the shit out of people and starting fights for what?
Yeah.
What the hell is that going to
See,
be?
liberals would be like, "Oh, I want to hear your opinion. I may disagree with it completely, but I'll hear it."
Talk rationally.
And the left is more like, "I don't want to hear it."
I feel like
it's racist. It's ignorant.
We're just
terrible.
We're going back a little bit with all this shit. Like
I don't think it's gonna last forever. I think it's honestly a trend. I think it's gonna die out.
I feel like we were accelerating with rationality and we were thinking, and then all these dumbasses come around and think, let's go loot a store, let's go burn stuff down. That'll get our political message across. No, it won't, you dumbass. It'll get you shot.
Look, and
people can't pull this shit in America.
Because America is so damn good and we're so used to having problems, people create problems. Seriously, out of nowhere. And it's just like, or take something that's so small and so minor and just blow it out of proportion. Especially news stations, because they need to make money. I understand that, but it's like, if you actually look at our country's doing like fine right now. I'm not saying like our future because of the debt and everything.
Right.
I'm not even talking about that. I'm talking about today.
Right.
Like our economy's good. Even in the 2000 recession, our economy compared to economies throughout history have been
absolutely
fine.
We're not crumbling
yet.
But do you agree that it's become cool to hate America?
Okay, well that was the same thing in Vietnam. It was cool to burn American flags.
But I just feel like it's come back. I feel like in a sense in the 80s and stuff, people kind of had that feeling. They're like, I'm a proud American, I'm proud of America. America's great. And
reminds me of that Bruce Springsteen album. The one with the American flag on the front of it?
I haven't seen it.
You haven't seen that one?
No.
I think he brought a lot of American patriotism back with Reagan, all that stuff. That whole 80s generation was very American.
Right.
Which I enjoy.
Yeah. And
I'm pro-America. I live in this country.
I don't like people being like ignorant about them loving their country. I think our country has problems, and I think we should try to solve our problems. But at the same time, I'm a proud American. Hell yeah, are you kidding me?
Yeah, same.
We're one of the freest countries in the world.
Right now, I mean, we've had some terrible stuff in our past,
right?
But overall, we've
overcome it.
Yeah, we've overcome a lot.
And people love to hate America, and it kind of pisses me off.
Well, people love to hate winners.
Yeah,
people love to hate Trump before the political Trump, just because he made a lot of money.
You'll ask.
And well, there's obvious other reasons. I shouldn't.
You think about kids in like high schools or schools nowadays, and I just feel like they're kind of just being told what to think and what to believe. You ask them, be like, "Oh, what do you think of America?" And be like, "I hate America."
It's more college than anything.
Oh,
With the liberal professors, I think it was a number like 1 in 12 professors at a university are conservative.
I'm sure. I've had people tell me, like teachers tell me, that they've had professors that will tell them, be like, okay, when I went to college, I'm sorry, I messed that up. I have teachers that will tell me when they went to college, like, their professor said, you have to deny God right now, and if you don't, get out of my class.
Yeah.
That's so unreal. That's
once again the left and the liberals.
You're paying for that education, motherfucker. You shouldn't get kicked out of that class just because you believe in God.
Yeah. Well, these professors have been there forever, and now they're just... I don't know what's gotten into them lately. I don't know if it's new professors or these old professors are just like, I'm just going to be liberal as shit for no reason.
Are they entitled, do you think? Do you think they feel like they're invincible? They can be an asshole to anyone they want because they've been there for so long.
No, I think they're just... Yeah.
I think they're the shit.
Yeah, they think they're shit.
And I'm not bashing on professors. I think professors can be smart as hell people, but
Oh yeah,
it's none of their
there's
business.
just ignorance.
It's not.
You can be smart as shit and be ignorant. There's a huge problem right there.
It's so ironic. You think of these people that are supposed to be educating our youth. They're supposed to be rational human beings and like discuss things with people. Like if you think someone
Yeah, the professors of our day are just not good. They're just,
no, you think so, well, not all of them.
Well, yeah,
I think
know.
they're good professors.
Well, you have like people like Jordan Peterson,
Right.
who was great,
Yeah,
who I like, but like,
and I don't agree with everything Jordan Peterson says either.
yeah, same.
But I do think he's got some good points. It's just I don't know. I just feel like something that we need to push is to really genuinely try to learn how to communicate and talk with people about our problems or like your disagreements.
Yeah,
But these people that were,
and that used to be what our country was,
right.
And that was a small period of time, to be fair. Like
Yeah.
people say, like, oh, the founding fathers and all that, but I mean, we did own slaves back then. Most of the country was.
Did you know that the founding fathers apparently wrote a draft of the was it the Declaration of Independence? It was something. It was some important document. I forget. I was taught this by a teacher like 2 years ago, and it was a rough draft talking about they abolished slavery
Yeah.
whenever they were declaring their independence.
Oh yeah, that was definitely something that could have happened immediately. But
Right.
a lot of founding fathers were slave owners. So.
Well, I think what it was once again it had something to do with the economy. They felt like if they had
yeah, because every other European economy had slaves.
right, and if you got rid of slaves, then they probably wouldn't have been able to really like stabilize as well America. I mean,
Yeah.
it's weird. We really bumped our shit up whenever it came around the world wars, because I don't think we weren't the number one power in the world, were we?
No, we just got over depression, especially for World War II. Well, World War One, we came back,
Were we
and the
involved?
Prohibition happened, and we had the Roaring '20s.
I don't really hear about anything about America in World War One. Were we really involved in that at all?
We were, but like, it wasn't as. I don't think it was as glamorized because World War II was just awful. Hitler
yeah.
was just pure evil.
Well,
and there wasn't really a pure evil in that war. That was more of like a.
I think all of
It was just like political, more political shit, not
all
more
of it
moral
was
shit.
just. I think both world wars were just shit shows. They were just horrid things. And sometimes I don't think.
But World War II was way worse. The
Yeah.
Holocaust. Yeah.
But I just don't think. I don't know. Did people really even understand why they were fighting?
In World War II or World War One?
Both, really.
Probably at the time they did. I don't understand too much about World War
I mean,
One.
it seems-
bores me. World War One kind of bores me a little bit. World War II is like so much more like interesting for some reason.
Well, it's just because I think World War II's talked about so much more.
And it's such a, you know what? I think it's because of this. I think World War II is such a good and evil story. It's literally like good beats evil, and it's like this classic, just awful.
Well-
it's the worst evil possible,
But at the same time, you do
and
think.
it's good, and it's recent too.
But it was popularized because America was involved, and then people became really passionate about it, right?
Yeah.
They're like, oh, my grandpa fought in World War II. A lot of Americans are like, we beat the Nazis.
And that's the thing.
We
Because
didn't.
evil was popularized.
Did we beat? We didn't really beat the Nazis, though, did we?
In
I mean,
World War II?
we did a good job. We did a good job fighting World War II, but I think Russia really kicked Germany's ass.
Oh, you mean, okay, yeah. I thought you meant in a general sense we never destroyed them.
Oh no, we sure as hell did.
Yeah, okay, yeah, the Soviet Union did a ton.
Holy
Without the
shit.
Soviet Union, if Hitler didn't go after the Soviet Union, we would have had I think we would have won, but it would have been way more difficult.
Jesus.
And D-Day would have been more hell.
But that's
D-Day
interesting.
might have not been successful.
That's what I don't like about World War II is when we think that the Soviets were allies.
Yeah, well, they just helped us out,
Yeah.
technically. We're just
Okay.
allies for political
But we
reasons.
think it was a good defeat over evil. But the Soviets and Stalin, they were pretty fucking bad themselves.
it was literally far right versus far left.
Oh yeah.
That's what it was. Communists were far left, and the Nazis were
Well, not far
right.
left like we consider today.
Yeah, way worse. The
Jesus.
two extreme, the extremest possible ideologies you could have, one against each other.
He killed a lot of damn people. You know that? Stalin was a real.
Stalin was way worse than Hitler,
He
and
was-
even above that, Mao was.
I can't.
Mao was 60 million or something.
I
crazy.
cannot believe people don't understand that Mao Zedong. He is like every time I look up number one mass murderer in the world, he comes up first.
Yeah, Mao's number one, and it's not even close.
No.
Hitler killed what 6 million, 7 million. Mao killed 60, 70 million.
And I
I think it might even
I can't believe people
be worse than that.
people just forget. They don't understand how many people Mao really killed. Some people don't even know who Mao Zedong is.
Yeah, a lot of people don't know who Mao is. Guarantee you, people know Hitler more,
Right.
Because Hitler was popularized. It's just such a good and evil story. We never, if
Well,
we would have
and-
invaded China and had
and-
like a dramatic war with them, it would have been different.
Well, I think with all the stuff that happened in the 1900s with like African Americans getting civil rights and stuff.
Yeah,
I think what happened was Hitler was most definitely painted like a huge villain because of his like Aryan support. You
yes,
know?
he was so evil. That's what made it such.
He believed in such a superior race, and goddamn, he was a sick bastard.
Oh yeah.
Did you know he was allegedly I think he was a drug addict. He was a junkie. There are like, I don't know if this is true, but I saw something where I think there are like documents hidden from Hitler's Hitler's doctor hid documents because he was like addicted. I think it was opium. It was some sort of.
I could definitely see that.
It was really messed up.
I mean, didn't he take a pill to kill himself? Apparently, at the end of the war.
yeah. He took some sort of capsule. They say. I don't buy that.
We never
quite
found his
honestly.
body.
They say they found his dental records, but I think that
Well,
was
the Soviet Union said they had like his. Oh damn! They had this. I don't even mistaken something. They had some body part. I want to say teeth or
yeah
something like that.
I think
and then they ended up figuring out that wasn't actually Hitler's teeth or something like that.
Really?
Years later. Yeah.
I
And
would
we're just like, oh, where's his body?
I'd be like, oh, it's just in the rubble. It's just in the
Soviet
rubble.
Union has it's somewhere.
I'm not gonna lie. I think I kind of believe that Hitler went to Argentina.
Yeah.
I
Same.
just
There's a lot of proof. Okay, if people don't know the whole Argentina thing, Nazis did go to Argentina. That's almost a fact. That's
Yeah.
100%
Right.
a fact. Hitler going is obviously conspiracy.
right.
Nazis did escape there a lot. And if you go to Argentina, there's entire towns of 20,000, 25,000 people who are all Nazis,
really?
who speak German to each other. Yeah.
Oh man.
That was something I learned about on a Joe Rogan podcast. They had
Really?
a guy on there, and Joe Rogan asked him, he said, do you think, if you had to bet, did Hitler go to Argentina or not, what would you say? And this guy's been researching this for years, and he said, I think Hitler was in Argentina. I think there's a lot of proof that backs that.
I think there is too. That's almost. I have a respect for human life, but as an American, that kind of gets to me. I'm like, man, that sick son of a bitch lived out the rest of his life in a nice tropical little jungle out in fucking South America.
Well, who knows? He could have died maybe 2 years after that. Nobody really knows.
he could have.
That's a whole conspiracy. I only know the basics of. So I
think
think
people think he lived out the rest of his days happily with his wife. Bastard. Gosh.
Yeah, that would have been something.
Man, whew. Yeah, Nazis were
And if
weird.
a lot of people don't believe in a conspiracy like that, because we hear things about stuff like that happening, I guess you can say,
Yeah.
but we catch it.
Nazis were kind of weird, you know? They did some scary shit. They tried finding like artifacts that they thought possessed like power.
Yeah.
You know that? It's really sick, but like apparently a lot of the stuff that we know today about modern medicine, we learned from the sick experiments that Nazis performed on Jews.
Yes. That one guy, I can't think of the one guy who does
Yeah, I can't know his name either.
the medical doctor. He's a famous name. I used to know it. Yeah, he was evil fuck too.
God.
The whole Nazis were just like, oh, they were so mentally insane. I feel like all of them were just extreme sociopaths.
Well, I don't think that. I think that also ties into good and evil because, like, I'm gonna bring up The Sound of Music. This is the only time you're ever gonna get me to talk about The Sound of Music. You know that little like German kid. Have you ever watched Sound of Music?
I've seen it once.
There's like the
time
one
ago.
boy, this German boy, and at the end of the movie you find out that he's joined the Nazis and he's trying to hunt the family down, but he's only doing it because it's his job, you know.
Yeah.
So I do think like you were forced to join the military in World War II, right? Probably. In
That's
Germany.
a big question. A draft?
Yeah.
It's
I
not
feel
gonna
like
work
there was probably something like that, but I don't know. It's just it's scary. It's scary to think like all these like really just young kids who just felt like they wanted to support their country, like us, like Americans. You know, you hear about whenever like people want to join the military and they go over to the Middle East and fight. But do you think we're the bad guys in that instance?
In
fighting the Middle East?
Um,
or in Vietnam or any of that?
We're not necessarily bad guys, but we're not good guys. I did get this, though. They said that there was a draft on September 16th, 1940 for World War II.
Really?
Yeah. I didn't know that. There was a draft. People aged 25 to 40.
I think people found it a little bit more justifiable, though. Other than Vietnam, you know?
Yeah, because there's such a pure evil. If you look
Right.
at wars like Iraq and whatnot, there's not... Well, in Iraq, we didn't really even know who the bad guy was. That was a different type of war. It was more
God.
guerrilla warfare.
We were talking about how sick Nazis were. You ever just see the shit the Japanese did? Holy shit.
To people, yeah.
In World War II, god damn, they were sick.
The Japanese were something else. The Japanese and Chinese have always been so evil. You heard about the rape of
Nanking?
Nanking.
Yep. They deny it. I think they still deny it.
China still denies that, yeah.
Is it China or I think it's Japan denies it. Nanking was a...
Oh, you're right. Japan denies it, yeah.
Yes. Jesus, dude. I can't believe that's a thing. I had never even heard of something called mass rape until I learned about Nanking.
That's such a part. It's just like... Stuff like rape and Nanking, something you do not learn really in history class. And you don't hear about stuff like that.
No, you don't hear about it in history class. No one wants to talk about fucking rape.
Yeah, but it's so important that something like that awful that happens. It's so
Yeah.
interesting to learn about and know.
But it's just like... I mean, I guess it's different to think about because, like... No one, at least personally...
We learned about the Holocaust and war, like
Right.
how awful that was. That
Yeah.
was almost as worse as rape, and we're starving innocent
Right.
Jewish people to death, beating the shit out of them. I mean, it's like...
But
It's pretty
like...
awful, too. Yeah.
Oh, man. I guess I personally don't ever think about, like... Really, every war, there's probably going to be horrible rape.
Yes.
This is kind of a gross thing to talk about.
That kind of goes under... Especially with, like, Genghis Khan.
Right. Oh,
Yeah.
But, man, Jesus, the Japanese raped a lot, you know?
Yeah.
It's pretty sick. Do you think that the way Japan was with the war in World War II, do you think that has anything to do with their religious, like, history?
Maybe. Well, yeah, a lot of wars have been tied to religion, especially. I feel like there's a lot of religious stuff going on there.
I don't like to say that people have, like, almost a moral high ground.
I feel like
because
they were
have
uncivilized,
religion.
to be honest, in Asia.
In Japan?
Yeah, more than Europe, because Europe kind of was uncivilized, obviously, at some point.
Right.
Every part was uncivilized. And then, Europe had to kill each other for 1,000 years in order to realize to be civilized.
Are the Japanese are kind of godless, right? They don't really... A lot of them...
Well, no, they had a lot of gods back then.
Well, they had
like,
Shinto. I know that.
Yeah.
But you know...
But they're like slowly over time they become more
They
godless.
believed that, like, their emperor was a god. But then something happened where, like, their emperor lost or something, and they realized that the emperor was not a god. And then I feel like everything went to shit.
Yeah, they just look at there's no gods.
Yeah. And, like, I'm not saying that not believing in God's gonna make you fucking rape, but
Yeah.
it was, I don't know, it's just so barbaric. I just feel like sometimes people have moral convictions because they're like, I can't rape someone. Like when you're going insane in war, because war is gonna tear your mind apart. Some people try to hang on to something like God, right? Like, let's say Christian Americans in the 40s, if they're losing their mind, the one thing they might want to hang on to is God, right?
Yes.
And
in any war, people turn to God more than ever.
right, and they just see so much fucked up.
When
shit.
times are good, they do the opposite.
But like they'll know, they're like, okay, I'm gonna fight this war, but I can't. Not saying they want to either, but they're probably gonna be against trying to rape someone because they're gonna know, like, they're gonna think God, right? They're gonna think about God.
Jesus wouldn't do this.
Right.
Yeah.
They're gonna try to hang on to that. So what happens if you go to war and you don't have a God? Do you just lose? Do you
Your
lose
mind?
that sense?
Yeah, God's a religion in general, just in general, with good moral beliefs is usually good for people necessarily in war. It can also be the complete utter opposite,
Right.
where you're going crazy and your religion says to do X, Y, and Z,
Oh,
and
yeah.
you go around and you do awful shit like
Yeah.
ISIS and what have you. Yeah, so it can be like really good and it can be really bad. So
That's interesting.
yeah,
I don't like to think that that religion or believing in God causes people to think like that. Like, I think I had this conversation with someone where they told me that in early history they believe that it was religion that caused people to be more civilized.
yeah.
And I don't 100% agree with that. Because, like,
I don't either. There's a lot of
well,
wars
he
that
said
religions
more
can cause
specifically
by.
Christianity. And I'm not 100% on board with that. I think
Rome became a little. Well, Rome ended up falling, but
right.
Rome was very morally fucked. And when Christianity came around, and after all the persecutions and what have you, Rome became better.
Yeah. And I think
But then Rome fell.
maybe
too.
Christianity helped. Maybe I'm incorrect. But at the same time, it's hard for me to just say that Christianity did help people become more civilized. And this thing is often used against Christians, but the Crusades. It's
Yeah.
kind of hard to not look at the Crusades. I think at first when the Crusades happened, what it was I think they were trying to help the Byzantines. Do you know anything about the Crusades?
A little bit, yes. Byzantines were what was left after Rome was destroyed, because Rome and the Byzantines
Right.
broke up,
I
and then
think,
Rome was killed, main Rome.
I think, like, a lot of the Muslims were completely obliterating the Byzantines.
Yes.
And I think there was some sort of, like, agreement where when the Crusaders came in, they were going to essentially give the land back to the Byzantines once they obtained it. I don't think that's how things went, from my understanding.
Yes.
I
I don't
think-
know too much about
I think
the
they
Crusades.
sacked some, like, the Christians sacked some Byzantines. I could be totally wrong. But, man, in the end, the Crusades...
I remember this. There was a fight over, God, whatever their old capital was. It
Yeah.
wasn't Istanbul. It was
I don't know.
Constantinople.
Yeah?
That was what it was, I think.
I think they really fucked them up, too, didn't they?
Yeah, the Byzantines were.
They got crushed.
I think so. Yeah, I think they did. I watched a documentary about that like 4 years ago about the whole Holy Wars and whatnot.
Yeah.
I don't remember too much about that.
It's interesting. It's interesting stuff. I like playing, like, video games set in that kind of stuff. I think that's kind
In
of...
history, creating your own.
It's
too.
badass. I think that's cool.
Oh yeah, like Civ 5.
Oh,
Shout out to Civ
yeah.
5. Very fun game.
But man, in the end, it became so jacked around. It all became about this, like, sense of honor and, like, who can kill the most people.
Yeah.
I mean, think about all the innocent people that died in that fucking war, in the Crusades.
Oh yeah.
So-
Tons. Well, almost any war.
We're sort of, I feel like we're bouncing around the topic of good and
Yes.
evil. In that,
Well, these are all good. These are interesting examples to
Right.
understand the subject.
yeah. We're not really, I guess we're not talking about it so specifically, but
Yes. Very broad and generalized.
yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I think we were going to plan on doing 30 minutes of podcast material. There's
Yeah.
still a shit ton of stuff to talk about
Right.
between us. But we will save that for another episode.
Yep.
But thank you for listening to this episode if you made it so far. I have to ask everybody everybody who's listening, if you have made it this far, please comment something below. That would mean a whole lot to us. And
Comment what you think.
comment your thoughts. Have we been bouncing around too much? Are we not? Is staying on subject something you want to see more from us?
Correct our historical inaccuracies.
Yes, because I'm sure there's been a few, because we
Quite a
talked
few.
a ton
Yeah.
about it. But I think most of what we said was correct.
For the most part. Well,
yes, for
maybe.
the
Unless
most part.
Unless
I
they're
think from what I
opinionated.
said.
Who
Yes.
knows?
But yeah, comment and think, should we stay on subject more? Because we definitely go off topic a lot. Is that something you want? Are you following the conversation and enjoying it, or are you not? Is the question that I have for everybody who's been listening. So, all right, so I guess that's it. So thank you guys for
Everyone,
listening, and
Have a happy new year.
have a happy new year. Please subscribe, like, share, all that good stuff. So yeah,
Tune in next time.
yeah, till next time. Goodbye.
Good night.
Holy